Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show. I am your host, Tom Kelly, with the OGs of the Pattison Ave Phanatics Show here today. Everybody else is on vacay. James Scorza, what's going on? Joe Marks.
What has happened in Philadelphia?
Yeah, Frank Finnegan, Damon Salim, and Dave all have other things going on. It's a summertime, man. It's totally understandable for the studio to be empty sometimes, and we get it, boys. And we'll see you back in here next week. But we have the OGs in here for you today. Joey and I are two of the originals that started the show, and James literally came on like 15 minutes later.
Yeah, right.
So we've been doing this a while, and we thank everybody for tuning in with us. Let's get into some of the fine sponsors of the program before we get into the Philly sports landscape, so to speak. Our friends over at Philly Sports Trips are just getting bigger and better with every single game and trip that they plan. Like today, for instance, they're heading up to Nationals Park. Then June 22nd, there's a trip out to San Diego. It's the 22nd through the 26th. Two game tickets, flights, tailgates, and hotels. And August 5th through the 7th, the Dig for Meal Hall of Fame trip. That's going to be huge. Head on over to phillysportstrips.com. Plan your package today. Tell them the boys over at Pattison Ave Phanatics and EOP sent you. And then for all you golfers out there, which is where Frank Finnegan is today, hopefully hitting them straight on the golf course and not shooting a 131. The Scotland Golf Trip, British Open at St. Andrews, the 13th through the 19th. So again, head on over to phillysportstrips.com and plan your package today. Our buddy Dave Cherry Esquire for workman's compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, and criminal law. Give Dave a call at 610-565-0300. Dave Cherry Esquire. That is cherryinjurylaw.com. And if you have a project, big or small, at your house, please give SMT Renovations a thought. Give my friend Sean Tolomeo a call at 609-602-0560. He'll come out, free estimates, and nobody in the business does it better than my man Sean. So please give SMT Renovations a try today. And then, of course, our weekly lineup. Monday, talking Flyers with the Broad Street Bullies podcast. You got Tuesdays, talking Philly sports with Matty B. The fighting's final. I got to give credit where credit is due. Was super excited when Matty B came onto the network. I think he's a hustler. He works really hard. But this man, folks, after every single game, he is out there. He is talking Phils. He's gotten different people on. I haven't had the privilege as of yet to join him on a Fighting's final, but I do believe that I will join up with him really soon. Matty B, keep it up, brother. You're crushing it right now. Don't forget our boys over at Philly Press Box Radio. They had Joey Sheeran and Dan Baker on this week. And then, of course, Big Al and Joe Sheeran over at the EOP Sports Show. They're at 9:30 on Wednesdays. Philly Press Box Radio is at 7 p.m. on Wednesdays. And you see our ugly mugs on Saturday morning. And then Sunday, it's Lacrosse, Philly, and beyond, man. Check those guys out as well. So, with that said, let's get into some of the Philly sports landscape. Hey, yo, the Philadelphia Phillies right now have and we we're back in studio now. This is nice, Joe. I was just telling them we got the OG crew in here today, which is fun for me because it's just this is kind of our thing. This is what we do. So not that we don't love everybody on the show, past and present, but is it too early to start talking about removing the interim from in front of manager for Rob Thompson?
Yeah, I think
You
it's
think it's
it's
still
not.
too early?
I think it's too early just because I think for what it is, it was a wake up call, but I got to see how long the honeymoon lasts,
Right.
and I'm liking how long it lasts so far. I mean, they've won 14 out of 16 games. They haven't done that since 1977.
I know, dude. It's
That's
nuts.
That's hard to
absurd.
believe, isn't it?
That is absurd. Considering there have been winning teams between then and now, with the
Yeah.
'80s and the 2000s. So it's hard for me to believe, but if there's anybody that is giving credence to be the full time manager, I mean we've been looking for a guy that can sustainably balance out this clubhouse since Charlie Manuel. And, maybe Rob Thompson's it. And good on him if he is. It's amazing that we had to fire Girardi to find Rob Thompson. But, and it's interesting too, because I did not know this, is that I thought because Girardi and Rob Thompson had ties with the Yankees, that's where Rob Thompson came over from. But he came over when Gabe Kapler was manager.
Ah,
So it was before Girardi. So it's thank you, Gabe Kapler.
absolutely. So, it's you know me, Joey. I pull triggers fast.
Mm.
I'm not a let's calm down, folks. Let's wait and see. I'm usually like the little puppy dog that jumps up, tries to lick your face. That's always how I've been when it comes to Philly sports.
Yeah.
I'm loving everything I'm seeing from this team. It's like they're a totally different ball club under this guy. I don't think he's made that many changes, but it seems like the one that he's made that's paying off the most is he's letting the young guys play. Speaking of young guys, Joe, I uh I did have a
I knew
s-
this was
a
coming.
a somber ceremony for your boy Moniac.
He'll be back.
I'm
Relax.
sure he will. What do they want him to see more pitches down there? Is that
Yeah, they
basically what they
rushed
sent him
him
down
back
for?
up too soon. They just thought, okay, he's back. We can bring him up, and they just threw him into the like kind of threw him into the fire, and they really didn't know where he fit. I mean, you got to understand with most of these guys, they've been either up and down. Stott's been up and down. Even some of the pitching has been up and down. So my feeling is that they're going to Vealing's been up and down. My feeling is Moniac's going to be up again,
Right.
and I have full confidence in what he's able to do. And the guy just came off of major surgery, so I know that he's had his struggles in his past, but this is a guy that proves, if anything, he proves that he's willing to work at his craft. So much so that he's made waves in spring training. People like yourself and others, you weren't alone, that thought, okay, he's dead in the water. Um, it took 5 years. I guess that shouldn't be as long as you should take if you're a prospect in the major leagues.
But everybody kind of has their own time to
Yeah,
blossom. You can't compare yourself to other people. Anthony checks in on Facebook, basically calling me out in my excitedness and totally understandable. He said, "Way too early. This always happens. The Philly team goes on a hot streak and then they fizzle." And Anthony's absolutely right. So for Anthony's sake, for Joe Marks' sake, I will temper my expectations. I will just take this as a hot streak, but one hell of a hot streak
look,
it is.
there's every
Yeah,
reason to be excited.
that's the thing too. They haven't been they have been really been fun to watch the last few weeks. I think the reason why is because I think now it's just like you got a manager that's common baseball like 101 that actually like similar to what Joe Emmanuel was like the hidden season is finally coming back again.
Yeah,
So
I've been thinking that a lot lately.
you know what I mean? It's like that's I think that's what it looks to me is like when they're hitting the baseball out of the park. It's like, man, this kind of reminds me of the early 2010s with the Joe Emmanuel years.
Well, I also go and when I've been on Matty B's show at the
Right,
Fighting Final,
right,
I said to him like Matt had this comparison sheet
right.
of like Girardi and Rob Thompson and some of the stats and like I said on the show, like I like stats, but I don't try to get deep into those deeper analytics.
Sure, yeah,
But you got to admit, like the clutch hits
yeah. They've
during
been
the Rob Thompson era have been there.
yeah,
Like every time I'm like if Girardi was the manager, it's just no, we're not gonna win this game.
and that's the thing too. I really thought that when Girardi was hired, I was like, okay, we're gonna have like that old school kind of feel.
I thought when we had the DH, I thought we're gonna be the Yankees.
I
Yeah,
th- I thought I
yeah,
thought so too, and then it's like he is more analytics driven than I really
Yeah.
gave him credit for.
and
Yeah,
and and that's
yeah.
and that's the thing too. Like he had like a desk. It's like what he had like a damn desk like like in the dugout. It's like what do you mean? Wait, are you a manager or are you Billy Bean the
I mean,
Moneyball?
like guys, tough as nails, former catcher. Managed in one of the toughest markets in New York in the country to manage in. You would think you were getting this hard nosed guy, and
Right.
and it was just weird.
I felt like he
Yeah.
was a lame duck manager in this town. And I felt like because he was still trying to he's like, okay, analytics is, in order to be successful, I have to know this. That's why I feel like his head was always in the binder because he didn't already know the math. There are managers out there that manage with analytics, but they don't have to look at a binder to know the
No.
stats. They know the numbers. They're
Well,
good at processing.
at least they didn't get a mohawk shaved in his head like Joe Madden, and then
Yeah.
didn't
His
even get a
players got
chance to
fired.
get in front of his team to get him fired up. Like can you imagine that? You get a mohawk so that you can go get your team fired up and have some fun, and before you can even get into the locker room, you get called into the office and canned.
Oh my god.
And Gargano was talking about it on this show. So I ask you guys: do you keep the mohawk or do you shave your head?
Shave your head.
Shave your head.
Yeah, shave your head.
I mean,
You
look
did it
who
with the
you now.
intention to motivate players, and now you're not even their manager. So
That
Yeah,
that
I mean,
is
like, what's the
correct.
use now? Unless you're turning into like I don't know, like a Birdman, Chris Anderson type.
Oh,
and
good Lord.
And move to Texas.
that knucklehead.
Anthony checking in on Facebook says keep the mohawk. I tend to agree. At this point, why not? Yeah. So
Well, he's old enough, so I mean, for any older gentleman to be able to rock a mohawk, I mean, I'll give him all the credit in the world.
Yep.
But not every older gentleman is fortunate enough to be able to have a mohawk. So
Well,
this is true.
I never even seen a picture of it. Like,
No, I-
what's it look
Some of us, like myself, with the receding hairline, it's been turning into a mohawk, whether I like it or not.
well, I mean, I'm not going to touch that topic.
Yeah,
But
Joe
You got
said he
more of
has.
a mullet.
Joe said he has a reverse mohawk. I hear that.
But I mean,
okay.
here's my feeling is with like you hit the nail on the head, and I've been thinking this too. And
Sure.
it's ironic because Charlie Manuel was seen talking to Rob Thompson after his first game, and so in the dugout. And so for me, it's like okay. And like I said to Matty B, like there are certain players on this lineup that hit like Ryan Howard, like they either go yard or they strike out.
Right.
And I said, that's good for some players, but not your whole lineup. You cannot do that for the whole lineup.
No, you can't.
And so if you look at the stats for this team, it's glaring that the strikeouts, the stranding people in scoring position, players in scoring position, stranding players in scoring position with 2 outs. Although I have to give credit to Matty B. Keep calling out people because every time you call out somebody, they get like hot. So
it's
keep calling people
the
out.
mush effect.
Oh yeah,
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way.
because he called Nick Castellanos out, and then Nick's been scorching hot lately.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Matty B's a mush. It's almost like a reverse mush.
Well, the only one he hasn't really mushed is JT Realmuto.
Yeah, like if somebody was doing great and then you praise them and they went into a slump, that's a mush. But if you're calling them out on the carpet, then all of a sudden they're doing better. Keep the reverse mush going.
Yeah, because he called out Alec Baum in the beginning after the 2 or 3 errors, and then he turned it around. He called out
Did he call out Veerling?
He called out Veerling. He called out Bryson Stott. He called out Schwarber. He called out Castellanos. And I'm like, okay, no, like I've deemed it the Matty B clubhouse. Like he's got his own clubhouse, and currently Reese Hoskins is the president, Nick Castellanos is the vice president, and JT Realmuto is the treasurer. But JT is moving up to presidency possibly because Reese is on a tear. Reese might be exiting the clubhouse soon, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's dude, I was a huge Hoskins fan, but he's
I'll ask the question that's been hot lately. Do you trade Hoskins while his market is so high?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty obvious. But how high is his market right now?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
The one thing is, do you have a trade partner, and for those trade partners, what are you getting back? And like the quality versus the quantity. And we were on, and I was on with Matty B, and he said that he proposed, would you take 3 like good bullpen arms and like proven bullpen arms and 2 AAA top tier starters? I said I would, only because I'm a fan of the idea that I don't like these bullpen games.
Mhm.
I think they should be bullshit games, but that's just me. Um, I come from the old school thought that you should have more than 4 starters in the whole organization. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have these long relievers that you have in the minors that you're calling starters, and you
Yeah.
have to stretch them out. Like, that's nonsense.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's the thing too. It's like back in the day, they had like five starters down the roster from start to finish.
Well, they would even have more, but
Yeah,
that they could bring up for spot starts.
yeah. I mean, like the Chano Parks
Yeah,
or maybe Joe Blanton's
right,
here and there. But yeah, I mean, in this day and age, like say for example, like the Phillies were relevant like they were back in the day, right? And they had like say for example, like the like Hollidays, Hamels, and Oswalds, and like that's gonna be your four stars just like that.
right.
And Joe Bland might be probably go to the bullpen.
Well, in this day and age with that roster, yeah,
Oh yeah,
probably.
I think so too.
And that's the problem is that, like, you have these guys that they say, "Well, we're stretching out."
Right.
Okay, but then are you taking a middle reliever that should just be a middle reliever
Mhm.
and stretching him out to a starter where that's not where he should be?
Right.
Like, people that this I feel like baseball is trying to turn into this positionless kind of sport. And, like, you got people that are playing catcher that never play catcher on other teams. Like, I've seen this. It's like now that there's a DH, they just plop a guy in that's a catcher, and you're like, yeah, okay, just
Yeah.
go catch. And I'm like, the guy's never played catcher before. He was an outfielder. Oh well, he can play catcher. Like, okay, we're just throwing away what positions mean anymore. I'm like, Veerling was playing third base. He's never played third base. I'm
I
like,
mean,
okay,
I was gonna say something about that about Veerwing because the last few games he's been really
yeah,
good. You
Fun to
know,
watch,
and you
man.
could put him out in anywhere. You could put him out in center field. You could put him out in second base. I mean, he's just like kind of like what we thought Scott Kingery was going to be.
so, have we did we in the beginning of this year, we all well, actually, I'll even go back to late last year, we all here at the Pattison Ave Phanatics trashed how bad the Phillies farm system was. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that their farm system's a lot better. It's not. But with seeing some of these young guys like a Veerling, like
Mhm.
a Stott, like a Bomb, like
Mhm.
a, Stubbs,
Yeah.
not all of them came from the farm system. Most of them did, but does this mean that we overreact? It was an
No,
overreaction?
no,
No.
not at
No,
all.
I
Because
don't. I
their
don't
farm
think so.
system, they have had nothing in their farm system since that 06 to 11 run.
Right.
There and at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think we overreacted. I think this has been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Maybe it's coming around now. Maybe finally a decade later, a decade after that run. Because I mean, let's be real. That run was essentially '06 to 2011, where
Yeah.
where they were in contention pretty much every year. Um, I personally feel that this year, watching the farm system, watching people having that ability to send ammoniac down, um, not necessarily because he's playing horribly, but maybe to give him more looks at pitches, and then if there's an injury, he comes back up. Like you have some depth,
Yeah.
which is nice. So I know to answer my long response to your question um, is no,
Yeah.
because I don't think we overreacted, and I think hopefully we're making a turn, and then
Yeah.
this could be maybe more of the norm as opposed to the exception to the rule.
I mean, it's exactly like what you're saying with the 2011. I'm glad you brought up that year because we've now won 5 straight series. We haven't done that since 2011.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
like, I agree with Tom that it seems like this organization's making a turn. And with Rob Thompson, I mean, I think, like I said, if he's that manager that can, you know, ride that tide of talent, ride that tide of being able to get the best out of the players, I think that this team has some special things on the way.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Are you guys worried the bats are going to cool off? Is that always? I guess
That's an
that's is that is
inevitability.
that is that always a worry that sits in the back of your mind with a lineup like this that relies so primarily on your bats that I mean, you are getting some flashes of life from your bullpen for the first time in a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be real. This team relies on their bats.
Yeah.
This team is going to live and die by the bat this
Yeah.
year. So I mean, are you
Yeah,
worried? Are you worried that like this is just a hot streak and they're really going to cool off? Kind of like what Anthony was saying earlier. He said, the team goes on a hot streak and then they fizzle out.
it's a good question to have because like, usually when you have like a cold bat, sometimes it sometimes like disappears from you. But so far, I mean, I just want to say that like I'm not too worried about it, frankly. But if it does, I think they'll bounce back like probably a little bit quicker than it was before.
All
Actually,
right, Joey, how about you?
I have the theory that my buddy has told me before, and it's that there's 27 outs in a game, and someone always has to make the outs. But within that being said, there's enough ammunition on this team that if someone goes cold or two or three people go cold, two or three other people might get hot. So I feel like maybe the bats won't cool off like icicle, but they'll cool. I mean, right now we're red hot. I mean, we're red hot with our offense. That can't be sustainable through the next 3 months, but it can be metered, and it
Yeah,
can be kind of like, even if it slows down a little, you're still getting the production you need. And especially, I mean, and like we said with the youngsters like Veerling, Stott, Bomb, you know, Stubbs, like these guys are coming through, and that means you're not reliant on someone like a Castellanos and a Schwarber and a Harper and a JT and a Reese. You're not just reliant on those guys, and that's good. That's good that our team isn't just relying on
right.
those guys.
Well, if for nothing else, the Philadelphia Phillies have certainly re-sparked the interest from this fan base and basically have come back from the dead. Speaking of sparking some interest and coming back from the dead, there's a brand new head coach in town. The 23rd coach for your Philadelphia Flyers is the spark plug, John Tortorella. How uh how are you guys? I know how I feel. I'll get into that. How are you guys feeling? And James, I'll start with you being our Flyers
Insider.
insider. How
okay.
are you feeling about John Tortorella taking the helm for your team in this upcoming season?
Well, let me first say that that like I said in my article during the week, that is exactly what you need to light a spark on this team
Right.
because this team has been irrelevant for quite a long time, you know. And I think the one thing you had to do to bring it to broad mentality is that when you bring in John Tortorella, he's going to be the guy that says, look, he's going to tell you straight up as it is because there was this one time my dad brought this up on the way on our show. He said that there's a reporter asked him like, "Hey, like what's with this like why is this player not here and there?" And he says because he sticks on the power play. Because that's and he was just like he will rip you at I mean, he will tell you either you're playing good or not playing good at all. So now it's time to show who you really are as a team. So hopefully this will be the smart plug, the spark plug, excuse me, to basically get that team where they were back. Hopefully, like they were back 3 years ago.
Right, Joey. How about you? What are you feeling about Torts?
I always like an ass kicker behind
Yeah.
the
As do I.
bench. I always like someone who's going to kick him in the nuts and say, "Look, you're not playing well." And we for years we had a guy that wore C and just went around
It's
and
going to feel, I'll be honest with you, Joey. It's going to feel weird. This is the first season in
Without Claude.
what, 12 years?
yeah.
More than that, maybe, that you don't have Giroux there. And it's, when he left last season, there was a lot of just relief because it's been pent up and built up and pent up and built up. But Tortorella has to coach a Giroux-less Flyers. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
I don't either.
I feel like those two personalities would clash.
And I've heard the idea at least being bounced around from analysts in the hockey world that with the Flyers they're thinking about doing captainless team this year. They're going to have a bunch of
Wow.
assistants, but they're not going to have a captain. Um, and one of the reasons is that with Tortorella, when he was in New York, he
Yeah.
had a captain that I think he basically traded because
Right.
the captain was just, I'm not going to do things your way.
Right.
So and it was kind of like the captain basically said, you either follow me or you follow the coach. And the coach is like, okay, you can put that choice in the player's hands, but guess what? I have the pull with the GM, so they can follow you out the door
Right.
too.
Right.
So that's fine. Um, for me, with this guy, I was like a guy that's going to light a fire. And I think with this team, they're young. They have a core. Like I was saying to Joe on the ride up, I'm like, they have a core. They just don't have the pieces around the core. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to start to think about what those pieces look like. And one of the big pieces that I think you have to go out and get is an athletic and very versatile defensive player. You need a guy that's going to be like a Chemo Timonen, like a guy that is like a Chris Pronger, a guy that can keep the puck in and keep the offensive going. Because the reason why people feel the way they do about Carter Hart now is because he's got 40 shots on average shot on him. If you go down any list of good goalies, they've never had that many shots on average
Right.
thrown at them.
Yeah.
And that's the difference is because their defense in front of them has the goalies back. That wasn't a proven commodity in this team last year.
Yeah. Just look what happened with the Rangers this year. Like a young stud like Shesterkin. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing is you have guys like that, the guy from Colorado,
Yep.
the guy
Brad Shows, right?
yeah, these guys are prototypes for
Mhm.
the type of guy that the Flyers need to go out and get. So when we talk about pieces to surround that core, that's a piece that you have to go out there and look for.
You know,
That's a piece you have to put on this team.
and that's the thing too. I think the one thing I like about like since Tortorella came here is now he's going to tell Chuck Fletcher, "Give me the talent I need now to
Yeah.
help me succeed here." I mean, there's going to be free agents out there that you can look and say. I mean, there's like one that Flyers fans wanted. I think was Evgeny Damnov from Vegas. I think his name,
Yeah.
and he went to Montreal. So, but there's always a possibility Montreal can probably trade one of their top talent. I mean, Cofield can be out there. Maybe like I don't know much about Montreal. I mean, I don't even know how they made it to the finals last year, frankly, with that young talent. but
But that's proof that you don't need to have a superstar riddled team to be in the
yeah,
finals.
yeah, I agree. And
And I
that's
mean
that's the
that's
thing.
proof with Colorado this year. That
Good
was
point.
proof with Montreal last year.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, okay, you have the Steven Stamkos and the Tampa Bay Lightning in there.
Vasilevsky and all that.
Yeah, you have those star riddled kind of teams. And I get that.
Mhm.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you have to prototype your team to be that. And I feel like for years when we had Giroux, we rested our hat on Giroux and Voracek as that nucleus, as that 1-2 stars. But then you didn't put enough of those, pieces around them. When we had Chemo Timonen, I don't think we knew what we really had until we lost it.
Yeah,
And then, now we're scrambling to figure out what we have. And then, like I was saying to you on the ride up, James, we let guys walk out the door that are quality talent, like a Nolan Patrick, a Patrick Maroon, a Patrick Sharp, a
no, Nico
Knuble,
Bell is another one.
Kubel, right? So like these are guys
The
that
Fonz,
like,
by the way.
yeah. So like these guys are people that like you're letting walk out the door. You're not like trading them. You're letting them walk out the door, and it's just it's an error by the GMs at the time. Now that's
Right.
not an indictment on Chuck Fletcher because Chuck Fletcher wasn't the GM at that time with some of those transactions. But still, it's an indictment on the GM. Now I agree with you that Tortorella has to go to Chuck Fletcher and say, "This is the kind of guys I need,"
Yeah,
and he's got the money now. Chuck's got the money now that Claude's contract is off the books. So now you have to go and say, what do we want? Do we want a superstar or do we want a guy or do we want a couple role players to build around this nucleus? And that goes back to my point of you can build your team either way and you can see from the finals that are now that you can build it either way and still make it to the finals.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, not nothing's guaranteed anymore. It's like I think the one thing that this league is now. It's like everybody talks about, oh, it's gonna be Vegas or maybe here and there, but really, like it's like it doesn't matter who's the hot team. It doesn't matter who's the top dog anymore. It's like who's the hottest team.
So let me ask you something,
Sure.
James, because you may have a thumb on the pulse of this team right now.
Mhm.
Do you what kind of assistant coaches do you see Tortorella possibly bringing in? You don't
Well,
have to give me specific names, but like what type of coaches?
I was talking about this with Dave. I think you could bring in like a Rick Tocchet.
I was just gonna say that, James.
Rick
I would love to
Tocchet,
see
maybe.
Taka come in here as an assistant.
Yeah, and maybe Mark Recchi because like he has a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
Now,
too.
are we tapping too much into that former Flyer thing that you
Good
and I were
lord,
worried
yeah.
about
I mean,
when we were talking last, James?
well, I guess I could just say Tocchet and maybe
Or does Tortorella at the helm kind of change that?
I think Tortorella and the helm will probably change that. Frankly,
So maybe you can have some former Flyers come in here and be underneath Tortorella and
I
maybe
th-
make an impact.
I think the other thing too is that because like back when AV was the coach, he brought in like a Mike Yo and
Yeah.
Michelle Terry, and they were good assistants. But I feel like back in the day, like I didn't know about this, but we had like Joe Mullen as our assistant coach during the John Stevens and Peter Laviolette days. I think that was about right.
Yeah.
So I mean, I like to have like one outsider and probably one Flyers guy, like mix and match a little bit.
It's as excited as I've been since Lavi was here for a head coach.
I know, right? It's been a while.
Now, this sounds like a dumb question, but how will Tortorella's passion fit in with this team in this town? Now, on the surface, like, yeah, this guy thinks like we do. He's one of us. However, I know he's coached in New York. I know he's coached in big market um, towns,
Hmm.
but as anybody in the country will tell you, we're a little different over here.
Yep.
And then for any of those who've watched Hustle, I don't know if you guys seen that yet.
Oh, I've seen it, man.
We'll get into some Sixers next. It's an amazing movie. We'll get into that for
It
sure
is,
next.
man.
But Adam Sandler jokingly said, and it's good that Philadelphia fans are calm, rational individuals, and obviously there's sarcasm there, and that's not the case. So, I mean, do you think we send Tortorella off the deep end with how we act, or do you think he'll be able to kind of roll with it, Joey?
I think he'll be able to roll with it. I think, like, for what it is, he's going to be like when Joe is bringing it up in the car about the player that sucked on the power play. I said, well, there's no hidden message there. I mean,
Right.
he's out. I mean, you can't get any clearer than that. And so I think with this market, we want the truth. Sometimes it rubs us the wrong way.
Right. Look,
But
take it back to Bone saying, I
yeah,
effing hate this place.
right.
And then owning it, saying, look, I'm upset. Look, how many times have we said stuff like that maybe you don't necessarily mean, but your anger or your frustration gets the best of
Yeah.
you. Yeah, a guy like that'll own it, and I feel like Torts would be one of those individuals that would like, look, we stunk tonight.
Yeah, he's gonna own it. He's not gonna. You're not gonna hear this guy come out, and nothing against Mike Yo, but you're not gonna hear Tortorella come out and say, "Oh, he played well for two periods."
Yeah, or I love the effort that we gave him.
Yeah, he's not gonna BS you like that. He's
No.
gonna tell you.
If you don't win, he's not going to tell you
Yeah.
about the effort that his guys.
No, he's gonna tell you where they
Gave.
suck.
Yeah,
You know,
which that will endear himself to this town pretty quick.
Yes. Now, look, this town is like, is most big markets. You don't win here.
Lunch pail,
You
collar.
you don't win here. Your ass is grass. Like that, we're gonna put you on the hot seat quicker than anybody else will.
Right.
But my feeling is Tortorella's got a plan, and my feeling is this is. I kind of feel like you are saying that you haven't felt this way since Lavi.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't felt this way in general in the sports landscape since Andy Reid.
Hmm.
Like I can say confidently I know he's got a plan and I trust the plan.
I didn't. Andy Reid was almost an unknown when he was brought in, so I didn't feel that way when Andy was brought in.
Well, I did because when I followed kind of Andy because I was a big Brett Favre guy kind of, and so like with what he did with Brett, it kind of like endeared me to like what this guy was coming with.
Mm-hmm.
So when we drafted Donovan McNabb, I'm like, okay, that's not a Brett Favre, but okay. And I'm like, is that the guy that he really wanted? I'm like, all right. But my feeling with Tortorella is this guy's gonna know what he wants and he's gonna go out and get it.
Yeah.
And so you have to trust whatever his game plan is.
The one thing I could say about the Tortorella and also the Laviolette combination, they both won championships, so they have that pedigree to bring that title mentality.
And they're
to
no
Philadelphia.
nonsense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're
I
no
get what you're
nonsense.
saying, James, but I mean, so did the former Philly skipper.
But well, yeah,
You know,
I mean, I
so
get
yeah,
that,
it's
but
more each town, each situation provides its different
yeah,
challenges and
I
stuff like that.
understand that.
So with just because of how Girardi worked out and stuff like that.
I
In
think
this
it's
regard, I will temper my expectations, but I'm hoping you're right.
yeah, I don't. I mean, I thought Girardi was going to be going to bring us a title to Philadelphia too, but then he turned into Analytic Joe, so that's exactly
Yeah,
I mean, here's the thing is with me with Tortorella is indifferent to Girardi. My feeling is that he does not come off like a lame duck, but a lame duck manager or coach. Mainly because I mean, we brought up about how he had talked to his wife when he was coaching the Tampa Bay and about to go into the finals. But here's the thing. Don't you think that he probably had a perspective of what Philadelphia was like when he was a Rangers coach?
yeah.
Like getting razzed and
Oh
like
yeah,
ridiculed every time he came into our building.
guys like Girardi, guys that have come in here and
Yeah.
coached, being on the other side of it.
Yep.
There's a part of you that has a sigh of relief, and then there's another party that's like, shit. Now I got to deal with these people all the time.
Yeah.
And
And there's a part where it's like, okay, they're on my side until they're not.
until we're not, and yeah,
And then it became part of
yeah,
us.
yes, this is true.
we hated
One
Ocho
of
Cinco
us.
too, and look what
One
happened.
of us.
Right. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I'll take that in spirit. I wish we could have had him in his prime years, but as
Yeah.
opposed to a fanboy.
I mean,
But I'll take it.
keep in mind of something. Tortorella, and I get you and Tom's perspective with Tockett and Recchi, and I like Recchi.
I know you do.
So, but he's got a lot of connections.
That's your favorite flyer, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark Recchi. And so, like, he's got a lot of connections around the league. I would not be surprised if it wouldn't be a former flyer, but it would be a person that you would be like, wow, didn't see that coming. Like, because he's got connections around the league.
Yeah,
Right.
He's gonna make phone calls.
it's hard to believe how how he gets around.
Yeah.
He's kind of like he's just like Forrest Gump. He's everywhere.
Yeah. So
Well, he's not a Dave Hackstall, so that's
oh
one
my
thing.
Oh
god.
jeez.
Let's just put us to sleep now.
Now,
Well,
now I don't want to be a fan anymore.
Yeah. So like I said, as far and honestly, overall coaches, as far as excitement, I can't think of maybe like I said, Lavi coming here, just because I liked his style. I liked how he carried himself and how he would hold the team accountable. But
Right.
Tortorella is like that on steroids. He's
Oh, yeah.
he's like he is as far as press conferences go. So I'm looking forward to him and Eskin getting into
Oh,
it because
yeah, that'll be
that's gonna be epic.
well, it's
That
gonna. I
happened
mean,
already today.
Tortorella's already gonna go. Yo, Howard, the Eagles locker room's over there across the street. But the good thing about this is Tortorella's already acclimated to some of the players on this team. Kevin Hayes, he coached Kevin Hayes when he was a Ranger, and then Cam Atkinson and him have ties. So
Right.
you have these guys, players that are already on this team that have an affinity with this coach. So there's something to be said for that.
My man Ryan Schmitty from over at Devereaux Sports checking in says, "What's up, Tom and boys? What's up, Schmitty?" And then
What's going on, man?
Mike Laro checking in. "What's up, boys? Big Mike from Devereaux Sports and Out of the Box Sports, man. Mike has his own show over on Out of the Box Sports, and obviously, Mike from the some of the Devereaux Sports shows over there. Both those companies, they put out great lineups, man. So please go check those guys out for sure, man. Thank you, fellas, for checking in. We appreciate it. They might be on hiatus, fellas, but there is a basketball team in this town. They might be in their off season, but some stuff going on. What are you guys thinking about Harden? It's looking like Harden's going to sign the short term extension with the team. Joe, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on Harden and signing this the short-term extension. That looks like a lower rate to possibly bring in, another, mid-range, mid-level star or two. What do you think?
Um, for the 1 year extension, I'm not completely surprised.
No, I mean,
Um,
yeah,
it was kind of like low hanging fruit
right,
because like
right.
you could still just do 1 year and still get that money back when he's done, and you just see what you get.
Hmm.
Um, I also feel like there's still a lot of moves to be made, and there's already been quakes about a lot of different big time players and a lot of different moving parts to come to this team. And the whole thing that people are saying about Joel Embiid, about how he's throws people under the bus. Did anybody ever think that maybe he busted his ass and he's just holding people accountable? Like, maybe it's not just that he's throwing people under the bus, but that like when you have guys that don't show up or minimize when the moment gets big, and he's the only one that's busting his ass, he's holding people accountable. And like we just talked about this with Torrell, he's going to hold players accountable. So your captain, your leader on your team, should hold your other teammates accountable.
100%.
And so, like, I get that. So with Harden coming back for a year, my hope is that it's just like I said on this show a couple weeks ago, I feel like it's the wolf in the hen house, and I really hope I'm wrong about it. I really do. But I feel like this guy could corrupt some of the mentality, some of the energy, some of the effort that some of these other guys on the team want to convey, but don't. Because, like, I go back to the last 2 games of the Heat series, and you have guys standing around in the perimeter not moving, and you got Embiid going, "Yo, I need movement. Like, I can't you guys just can't stand still." But because Harden is loafing around, everybody else just follows what the other guy says. And all of a sudden they're tuning out Embiid because Harden is the new kid on the block.
Right.
And so for me, I'm hoping with this 1 year extension, Harden gets the stick out of his ass and kind of does what he's supposed to do. And that is score points. Not listen, 10, 12 assists is great. But didn't we have this same argument with Ben Simmons? Didn't we all have this same argument? And everybody came at me and said, well, he's got to still score 20 points. Okay. Well, I'm going
God,
to hold the
I wish
same.
Dave was here for the Ben report this week.
Yeah. Well, here's the Ben report. He's still like incapable of shooting a basketball. That's that's the Ben
Yeah,
report.
he doesn't feel that the Brooklyn Nets have his mental health and his at his best interest in mind.
Shocker.
Come
Shocker.
again?
Who does? Other than his family that's got their hands in his
Dude,
pockets.
it is absolutely getting more ridiculous by the day.
I kind of feel bad for the guy a little because, and I'll tell you why. Because
What
I
a
feel like his
disgrace.
family is taking advantage of him.
Do you ever sit in your bedroom with some quiet time and put on a little like soft music and just think of him fondly and all the times you went to bat for him and got hammered?
No, I wish I had sight to have a dartboard with his face on it. That's what I wish. You
Oh,
kidding
man.
me? I'd like no.
I,
He burned me so bad. I mean, this is worse than Claude Giroux, and that's saying something.
man. Oh,
I mean,
man.
listen, I've gone to war about Claude Giroux, and I've been out here on blast about it. But now Ben Simmons can go bounce his ball somewhere else. Anyhow, but my point is with the Harden extension, 1 year. Let's see what they bring in addition.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's look at that. What move? Singular, could be plural, could be more than one. Do you think this team needs to get over this second round exit hump?
Well,
I-
I've heard in the audience was during the Heat series,
Mhm.
Seth Curry and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this right now, if you give me my druthers, and I know that Dave wants Bradley Beal, but you give me my druthers of giving both of those guys
Oof.
on this team, yeah, we'll get paid. We'll cruise past the second round in my mind. Because I mean, look,
Yeah, but what do you get rid of
Tobias. Tobias is a salary dump.
Yeah, but can you just get rid of Tobias?
No, you have to get rid of Tobias and Thibault and maybe another
Is
piece.
Maxey off limits in that?
Oh yeah,
right.
Maxie
Just making sure
stays.
we're still on the same page.
Maxie has roots here now.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's, you know, for me, it's a matter of, yeah, I was a big, you don't move Thibault, but Thibault proved to me that he's a one trick pony.
Yep. Yep. I was on the don't move Thibault train too. I was putting Thibault and Maxi in the same
Yep.
breath for a lot of last
Yeah.
season. And as it got towards the end of the regular season and into the playoffs, it just went from both of them in the same breath to Thibault not even in the same stratosphere as Maxi.
Now, understand something. The reason why Donovan Mitchell is even in the conversation is because Donovan Mitchell wants out of Utah.
Right.
And the reason why he wants out of Utah is because they're not willing to give him the supporting cast. And him and Seth are friends off the court.
Right.
And Seth never wanted to leave Philly, but
Exactly.
understood the reasons why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a business. Joey, speaking of Utah, your boy's interviewing for the head coaching position. Sam Cassell.
I'm not surprised.
Are you worried? Would you?
Yeah.
You don't want to lose him, do you?
I don't.
If Doc doesn't work out this year, would you maybe want to see Sam Cassell take over the head coaching reins here in Philly?
Well, Doc still has 3 years left. So,
but
if I could get rid of Doc,
nowadays.
yeah, I know. If I could get rid of Doc and put
I
in
know
place
how
Sam,
you felt about Sam Cassell from pretty much the moment he got here.
yeah,
And you've been a big supporter, so I'm just interested because your question to me is always, who
Yeah.
would you bring in? Who would you bring
Yeah.
in? What if you just slid somebody a little further down the bench, man? I wouldn't totally be opposed to that.
here's the thing. So the guy, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but he just got done his battle with cancer and came back. An assistant coach for the Sixers right now. My feeling is you bring that guy up, you move him up to where Sam is, and you move Sam into the Doc role. I think this is going to be a different team, and a different team in a good way.
Right.
And I'm also hearing rumblings that a former player is also throwing their hat out in the ring, and that is Rip Hamilton. And
For a head coaching job?
no, for assistant.
Oh, okay.
So he's looking to just get into the coaching field.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
so, because his boy Chauncey is a head coach somewhere, and so he wants to join the fray. And so I'm like, okay, I may not be completely against the Sam Cassell, Rip Hamilton coaching staff, especially like if you're trying in this NBA where congratulations to the Golden State Warriors.
I want to get into
Yeah.
something. As I'll be.
Yeah, but
James stepped out for a second. I want to wait till he comes back in.
but
Um.
the shooter mentality that this league is in, you having two shooters like Sam Cassell and Rip Hamilton, for me on your coaching staff, you're viable to being a great shooting team.
Right. I personally would hate to would totally understand him getting a shot to be a head coach. I would hate to lose him off the bench.
I would too. I would absolutely,
And
especially when he's done with
as
Maxey.
soon as I heard these, they're not rumors, but as soon as I heard these reports, I thought of you because I know how pro Sam Cassell you have been.
Well, listen, how many times has this happened in Philadelphia where we've had these great assistant coaches and we think we can hold on to them forever and we can't, and we don't promote them to head coach and we just let the other head coach walk. Like
It's like you wait too long and then they go somewhere else.
Well, I even go back to like the Philadelphia Eagles perspective with Doug Peterson. Like you yourself mentioned about Frank Wright and DiFilippo,
Mhm.
and the idea that okay, so if Doug didn't work out, why not give Wright the helm and then give DiFilippo the OC job? Okay, why not do that? But instead, you let both walk out the door, and like I get it, they should go and get promoted where they want to get promoted. I would root for Sam if he went to Utah, but I wouldn't want to see him go to Utah.
Right. Looks like Anthony's kind of kind of in line with your thinking. If you get rid of Thibault Harris and picks for Donovan Mitchell,
Yeah.
it's a possibility. So I have a non-Sixers related question, and I'll see what you guys think about this. This past week, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors win another title, and this is now Steph Curry's fourth title. Lesser than, greater than sign in between Steph Curry and LeBron James. Steph Curry with 4 rings now. Probably
Man,
the best,
you took my question.
the best,
like,
the
literally.
best 3-point shooter in the history of the NBA. Staying with one team so far his entire career. I mean, granted, with a Klay Thompson on there and bringing KD, and I'm not saying that Steph did it with less. I saw these things out there where Steph did it with less, and I don't think so. But
Oh, I'm ready for this question.
Who
This is
is-
what I thought of.
who's going to end their career better? Who's higher on the all-time greats list? LeBron or Steph?
I'll let James go first because I got this. Go ahead.
That's a tough one. I gotta go with Steph.
Joe?
So I had actually thought about this question before today's show, and I was actually going to pose it. So that's two minds thinking alike again. So here's what I thought. So LeBron is 37.
Yep.
And Curry is 34.
Mm-hmm.
And with a shooter mentality like Curry does, you can play until you're 40.
Mm-hmm.
With the physicality and the troubles he's had with that team, and I'll get into that. LeBron plays with a physicality which is going to wear and tear on his body.
Right. It's not conducive to longevity in the league.
Yeah, and his team, he's trying to mix and match the best formula. And here's where I'm going to say Steph didn't do it with less.
No.
Steph did it with less work, meaning
he had more around him a lot.
Well, it was homegrown. I mean, they drafted Clay, they drafted Draymond. That was the core.
Right.
So you could say, okay, they popped in KD in there for a couple seasons and got a chip. Okay, fine. But think about the majority of the chips that they've won. They've won it without KD.
Right.
So they won
3 out of the 4 were just their core.
Yeah. So you have to understand, Steph didn't have to go recruiting anybody like a Russell Westbrook or an Anthony Davis,
or go join Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. So
this is a guy that has, in my mind, will go down greater than LeBron James.
I'm starting to lean that way myself. Like as of right now, because I don't know how. I would have to look it up. I don't know where Steph is on the all-time points list compared to LeBron. LeBron's what, second behind Kareem now, I believe, all-time points.
Yeah, second or third. I think it's Kareem, and isn't Big O up there or no? Okay, so it's probably Kareem.
I'll pull it up. Pull it up.
But
Anthony checks in. What I heard is Anthony. Thank you, man. You've been with us all day on Facebook. What I heard is LeBron wants to leave the Lakers. Anthony,
I've heard it.
That would not surprise me.
He's only got 1 year left
at all.
He's only got 1 year left on his contract, and this is ironic because, and I'm not talking about the song, but this is ironic because years ago, we wanted LeBron here.
Yeah. Yep.
He's got 1 year left on his contract. We just signed Harden for his 1 year extension. Wouldn't it be ironic to build a team while Harden's still here, like a Mitchell, like a Seth Curry, and then let Harden walk away and ask LeBron if you already want to come to a team that you don't have to be the star. We already have those. You can come here and be in the supporting role. You can be the Ray Allen at the end of his career. You can be the guy that just comes in and, facilitates. He might look at that as an opportunity.
Right, absolutely.
Especially because he already got the LA thing out of his system. He's got his producing credits, he's got his acting credits, he's got that thing down. He did it. He's over it. He's moving on from it. He already knows that that's a dumpster fire in LA right now because they can't get rid of Russell. AD can't stay healthy, and the coaching and the GM, I mean, that they're shrugging their shoulders. They don't know what to do. It's a spiral. And so for them, if you're LeBron James, especially if you only have 2 years left on your career, where would you rather go? To a place you don't have to do as much work, or to a place where you have to carry the team? Or stay with a team that you have to carry the team?
LeBron's in second place. He's about 1,300 or so points out of first.
So he's going to play for another 3 years to get to that.
He'll get it. Steph's not even in the top 25.
But he'll get there. Believe me, 3's better than 2.
Right now, he's the all-time 3-point.
Yeah. Over Ray Allen.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Yeah,
He was a great player.
Yeah.
it's Steph, Ray, James Harden, and Reggie Miller.
Yeah, and James might overtake Ray at some point too.
Yeah, he needs about 400 more.
Yeah.
A little less than 400 more.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, already Steph's the all-time, 3-point leader. So,
But see, that's the thing is with this league, the way it's currently constructed, shooters win. Like that's the way the league is now. That the way that Embiid is, that's why he's the best center because he's the anomaly. There's Trey Youngs, there's Bradley Beals. You got these like spot up shooters. So Steph is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to chill. And Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, they could have went other places. They had their opportunities, but no, they're happy where they are. And why wouldn't you be? And to be fair, because we brought up the Chauncey Billups and we brought up the Sam Cassell and everything. Let me be clear. Who's the coach for the Golden State Warriors? A little guy by the name of
Steve Kerr.
Yeah,
Steve
who happened to be a former player, who happened to be a really good shooter, was not the superstar on the Chicago Bulls. Some guy by the name of Michael Jordan was, but he was a sufficient 3-point shooter. Sam Cassell was on some great teams. He was a sufficient 3-point shooter. I'm just saying, 3-point shooters as head coaches don't always hurt. And I'm just
True.
putting that out there. So, Doc was not a 3-point shooter at all. So for me, that's why I'm a big fan of Sam because he cares. He cares about the maturation of developing the skill set that the player already has. I mean, look, Maxey has gone from like a prospect to a possible all-star under Sam Cassell's tutelage. This is a no-brainer for me that Sam Cassell should be the head coach.
Steph Curry ranks just outside the top 50 point scoring of all time at 51.
Okay.
So,
But he'll play to his 40 easily.
Yeah, he's at 20,064. It's looking like so he's got a ways to go to catch up to Bron.
So I'll ask this question: if he's got 6 years left, if Steph's got a good, strong 6 years left, and clearly Klay and Draymond aren't going anywhere, they might stick together for the rest of their careers. There's no reason to not. Does Steph overtake Michael Jordan in championships?
Hold on. Not overtake. No.
Okay.
Could he tie him? Yeah. But I can't see him overtaking him.
Because all he has to do is bat 50% to overtake him.
I know, but
It's a lot.
Tough to do.
It's a lot. I get it.
It's tough to do for sure.
I get it. And I mean, here's the thing is that being said, then the conversation sways to where do you rank Stephen Curry? There's always been the argument of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. Where does Stephen Curry come into that? Because now he has entered his name into that debate in my mind. He has entered his name into that.
Yeah, I don't know. He affects the game so drastically. 4 rings, finals MVP. There's a lot there to think about. Like my knee jerk reaction is on this list. A lot of people on that list don't give Kobe Bryant the credit that he deserves.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Because everyone thinks, oh, he had Shaq and he had all these other guys to help him. Well, Michael Jordan had a lot of guys.
He got 2 without Shaq, though.
I know, but I'm just
Shaq only got 1 without him.
Right, but my point is, people always lean towards that argument, even though that argument is very flawed.
Scottie Pippen's one of the top 75 players of all time,
Yeah.
so it's not that Jordan didn't have anybody. And
I agree.
Then they put role players around them to kind of fill out the team, but.
And I mean, in grand scheme of things, if you look back, and this is one of the things I pointed out. So Jordan was paid, but like if you look at the highest paid people in the league around the time Jordan was playing, he wasn't the highest paid.
Right.
And like that proves that the guy just wanted to win.
Yep.
and that's a difference. And that's why I feel like with the way that we're constructing our team, if James wants to take less money in order to bring on another guy like a Mitchell or like a Beal or whatever, fine. What needs to happen? This is what needs to happen. We need to have another guy that can help back up Joel Embiid, like whether that's a Drummond or whether that's someone else. Because now there's Quakes, and I don't want them. I mean I did, but now I don't because I'd rather have Drummond. But there's Quakes that Dwight Howard wants to come back to Philly again, and I don't want him. I would rather have
No,
Drummond
I'd take Drum
all day, all day.
I'm with you.
all day, and twice on Sunday.
Yep.
I'm with you.
Well, listen, we could that Curry talk. That's a show
In of itself.
in of itself. And there is one last of the four major teams in the city that we haven't gotten into yet. And I realize OTAs are over and training camp isn't for another month. But the Philadelphia Eagles have made so many moves this offseason. I can't remember an offseason like this in a while. And Joe, you're our resident Eagles expert. They've literally addressed everything. And when was the last time that this team has addressed every single glaring and non-glaring issue that they had on the field?
I'm with you.
Well, I mean, if we had the sound bite, it would pretty much go like this. It's the whole
It's
team.
the whole team is right. It is it's interesting to watch. I can't remember a season in my lifetime where yeah, it went from A- to A+.
Well, I told you if he picked up a safety.
I know.
I told you as
And,
long as the safety
We'll
was
call him JT.
yeah, Jaquan Tart.
No.
Whatever.
Jaquuiski. Jaquaski?
Yeah.
Whiskey.
Jaquaski Tart. JT sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll go with JT. So
Pop Tart.
JT from the
hopefully not.
Yeah. But here's my feeling is he's not. He's a more than serviceable safety.
Yeah.
He'll be in rotation.
Veteran presence
Yeah.
in the rotation.
So my feeling is you have now addressed like 10 out of the 11 positions on defense this offseason. And you've addressed some of the needs that you need in offense.
I mean, other than running back.
Yeah, that's the glaring one.
If Miles Sanders isn't
Big if.
He's a big if this year, but I mean they've addressed
I know.
every need. Joey, they drafted
I
two
know.
linebackers. When's the last time this team's drafted two linebackers?
I can't even.
Jordan
recall.
Hicks is the last one of any
Right,
relevance.
but that was the only. That was the only one that draft year.
And
though.
I've been telling everybody this Kaiser White from the Chargers had the 8th most tackles in the NFL last year. Do not sleep on this guy. I mean, look at this defense. Look at the front. You get Brandon Graham back. Now Fletcher Cox there's another monster on the line. Like you're looking at this Jordan Davis kid standing next to Fletcher Cox, and he makes him look human. And Fletcher Cox is 6'4", 330 pounds.
Yeah, he's like, okay, little man.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah, really.
And then, yeah, and the Kobe Dean.
Oh my God.
If he can, and James, I know you and your Georgia Bulldog man, if he can be what we think he can be, you stole him in the draft.
Oh yeah,
you
It's
stole him.
It's already a steal. It doesn't matter
And then-
if he's a Pro Bowler or not.
And
It's
then
already a
A.J.
steal.
Brown opposite
Mhm.
Devontae, dude, and everything that I was hearing out of OTAs, Hurts is looking a lot more sharp than he did last year. He's bulked up a bit. This team, I like Howie Roseman, and Matty B. I know where Matty B stands with Howie. I know where a lot of people stand with Howie. But I'll tell you this right now. Howie Roseman did an outstanding job on paper.
Look, I'm
That he
fair because I put Howie's feet to the fire more than a lot.
There's times for sure in his tenure where he's deserved to have his feet put to the fire.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I would say, hypercritical of him, and as well.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, right. But I'm going to put a little shot off the bow to people. I am tired of hearing this because I'm kind of like you in a lot of way, in the sense that you're either all on or all off. Don't give me the gray area because you're waiting for something bigger and better to happen. These people are saying I'm not on the Jalen Hurts train. Yeah, I'm waiting at the station. I'm just not on it. Okay, here's the thing. That's all well and good for your opinion and everything, but then don't come jumping on the train when he's doing like 2,000 yards at week 8. Like, no. Because my feeling is I've had confidence in Jalen Hurts since he's been here, since he's been drafted. Now, look, me and Freddie have gone back and forth where he was drafted and it was too high, and I'm not going to get into that. But the player that we drafted was stupendous. It was an asset. And people who sit there and go, well, you need a pocket passer in this league. No, you don't. This league is turning and converting into a mobile, versatile quarterback. How many pocket passing quarterbacks are still in this league that are quality? Not many. I can count them on like one hand.
Yeah, on like half of one hand.
Right. So stop with this idea that we need to have a pocket passer like a Tom Brady. Tom Brady's on his way out. The people like Patrick Mahomes are on their way in, and Lamar Jackson are on their way in. You have to roll with the way the scheme is. It's like if the Sixers went and got a guy that was like a Ben Wallace in the draft instead of a Stephen Curry. If they could have a Stephen Curry and they went and got a Ben Wallace, knowing that this is a shooters league, we'd all be ridiculing them because we're not going with the trends. The Eagles actually went with the trends, and they got this versatile two-program stud out of two versatile programs. I go back to even this question. When's the last time before Jalen Hurts that the Eagles had a quarterback from the SEC? I can't recall.
Oh my.
Couldn't
So
tell you.
that's and we considered SEC football NFL light, correct?
Right.
So my feeling is that should tell you something, that this guy was versatile at that level. This kid is a coach's kid, which means that he's going to be harder. He's going to be more critical. He eats, sleeps, everything football. That's what he's been raised on.
Right.
My feeling is this kid is going to open a lot of eyes. And I'm going to say this outright to people. For those people that are wavering whether to get on the train or not, the train has left the station.
Mm.
So you either run for it or you are left behind. Because I will tell you this. This guy will be, and I quote, and you can quote me on this, will be a top 7 quarterback in the league this year.
Oh man.
Wow.
I know there's somebody that sits in the chair that Joe Scores is sitting in right now that may disagree with you.
I agree. I understand. But guess what? He's still living in the past. That's the problem.
Oh man.
He's still living in his olden days when he doesn't remember like how people like Randall Cunningham thrived. Like people like Warren Moon thrived.
Oh boy. I don't know if you want to wake that sleeping giant, Joe. The phone lines are open today, you know. I have 3 missed calls from Mr. Finnegan already. I'm trying to get him to call back in. I wasn't paying attention to the call.
I have welcomed everybody.
Him.
I have welcomed everybody in, including Bill Furman, including Kyle Quinn. The door is always open.
Hold on. I'm gonna try and we're trying to get Mr. Finnegan on the phone right now. I know it's not professional. I think he just hung up on me. He might have been in the middle of a backswing. Look, Joe, even Joe's putting the headset on. He wants to hear this. Yeah. So, all right, Frank. Well, we got a little bit left in the show. I missed these calls because I wasn't paying attention to the call board.
Listen,
hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. I feel honored, Frank, that the Cuz gets a call in and we get a call in. It's in the same week. It's nice.
I had to do the Cuz thing. I had to.
That was so great.
He was looking for creeps all week, and I thought, God, I don't know a bigger creep than than Dave.
You did at the end of it say how good of a guy Dave Yarnell is, which we all know
Guy,
that he is.
absolutely nice guy.
And we love Dave to death here. And I know you and Dave have your lovers quarrel sometimes, but Joey here is taking a hardline stance against those who were still, I guess, were having the jury out on Hertz. Can you have? I don't know if Joey was listening when you were on Cuz this week, but can you tell him some of the stuff that you were telling Anthony this week?
Well, I mean, look, he's got everything he needs. He's got right now NFL Pro Football Weekly, I think, gave the Eagles offensive line the #1 ranking in the league.
Yep, I saw that.
Okay, they have like the #3 ranked wide receiving core in the league. They're in the middle with the running backs, and there really is no excuse for him. I mean, if he can hit his man open, then Jalen Hurts is going to put us deep into the playoffs. But he has to prove it. He has to be able to show us that he can hit a guy on a 30-yard out or a 40-yard out and not put so much air under it that 4 D-backs get under the ball before the wide receiver does.
And this has been basically Frank. I mean, I'll go to bat for Frank here. This has been Frank's point since Jalen Hurts has become the starter for our football team.
Yeah, I'm not negative. I mean, I really want the kid to succeed because if he succeeds, next year we got 2 first-round picks. We could build a 10-year dynasty.
Oh my God!
I mean, that's bottom line. That's
are you invoking the D word? Oh man!
Well, look at what they did in this offseason.
You're right. As far as this offseason,
if they use those, if he hits, and I mean, boy, if he hits, it's big. If he hits and he's a top 12 quarterback, we got a team that's going to win for 10 years. We got a team that's going to win for 10 years. The defense has been completely rebuilt. Everybody's young. That offensive line is incredible. And we have replacements for the older guys in the offensive line. There's no reason this team can't dominate for the next 10 years if he hits. If he doesn't hit, then we got to use that capital to get a quarterback, and that would be tragic.
Yeah, Joey. I mean, your thoughts?
Can you hear me, Frank?
Yeah, he got you.
All right.
I can hear you.
My feeling is that for the better part of like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even a month after the draft, I've heard people still kind of the jury's still out, and I've been on like on the Jalen Hurts train for a while, and
Joe, hold on 1 second. I'm about to hit my tee shot.
Yeah.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking live or listening live.
Shooter gap.
You're looking live at beautiful Shooter McGash. Shooter. So we're live right now on the golf course with Frank Finnegan as he's taking his drive.
Slice.
Oh, four! That's gonna leave a mark. That's gonna leave a mark.
No, there's no windows.
No.
But
I just put it properly in the trees.
That happens.
My feeling is that I've been on the Jalen Hurts train and driving it since he's been drafted. And my feeling is this: I'm just in this prove it year. You have to be either on or off. There's no gray area.
I think we're all on. I think Frank is basically, if I may speak for you, Frank, I think Frank's just basically saying what he has to do in order for us to be successful, and he absolutely wants them to be successful.
Absolutely. I mean, why would you not? The kid's got everything else.
I mean,
you need is quarterback.
My feeling is that this is a league
but if he can't read the defenses and he can't hit that pass, then he's not the guy.
Yeah.
Well,
he has to prove that he can do it.
My feeling is that this is a league that where we're leaning away from the pocket passer. So everyone who's like he has to throw 40 or 30, 40 times. That's not the way that this league is schemed anymore.
No, just when he throws 22 to 25, he needs to be accurate. And find his guy.
I understand that, and like what you have to be more specific about what your definition of accurate is. If it's 80%, okay, fine. Is he going to hit 80% every game? No. But if he's hitting over 50 or within that 50 to 65 range, then I'll take that every day, especially.
Not the 50 or 65%. It's the quality of the 50 or 65%. Okay, he could hit Goddard for 3-yard passes all day long and get 56. I need him to throw to the hash mark and throw wide receivers open, and he couldn't prove that he could do it last year.
So
Okay?
yeah, I get that.
So got to be able to do that. If he can't do that, then he's not the guy. It's that simple.
My feeling is it's more about it's not just about the throwing, and I think it's what he provides as far as a dual threat.
Well, I'll be interested to see this season, as we all will, where he will fall on the spectrum of
And what's wrong with a dual threat? In any perspective,
none. It's just if he's got to rely more on his legs and his throwing, there's a lot there. So Frank, where are you playing at today?
We're playing at where the hell are we? Ingleside.
Where? What are you on the front line?
Are you actually? It's in Thorndale.
What hole are you on?
We are on 11th.
What are you currently shooting?
I had a 41 on the front. I think that. Yeah, 41 on the front.
Very nice.
I just put my tee shot on 10, which is a par 3, 8 feet from the cup, and promptly 3-putted.
Ah, yes, and now you're in the trees.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, I hit my first tee shot in the tree on hole 11, and I think I'm wet on my second shot.
Oh, fun times. Well, listen,
I'm really in my pocket on this hole right now, but I'm talking to you guys. So.
I know. Well, we will let you go. Get back out there. Try and keep it under 50 on the back 9, Frank.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Phillies real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
2 weeks ago, they were dead. Absolutely dead. It's a little different now.
A little bit.
And I mean, I was calling for Joe to get his head chopped off 3 weeks ago, but I think they didn't do it because they wanted San Francisco out of town before they did it.
Yeah.
But there is a distinct change in the entire mannerisms of that baseball team.
Yep.
They are playing. I mean, when Veerling hits 2 home runs in a game, something's up. Something is up.
When Bryson hits a walk-off, there's something up.
Stubbs.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with these young guys, man.
Yep.
I'm just really happy with the way they're going. I think that I believe I keep telling my son this. That come the All-Star break and the second half, the Mets are going to Met.
Yeah.
The Mets are going to Met. If they get everybody back, they're going to Met. They're going to fall apart.
I think they're only 8 games up, and that sounds like a lot, but
they are 8 games
well,
up. I mean, it would have been a lot 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like as much now.
Yeah.
And right now, if you look at the overall records in the NL, the Phils are right in the mix.
Well, keep in mind, it's like what I said. This is a 3-horse race.
They're a very flawed team. But they're a team that can hit their way out of those flaws.
Yep.
And guys, I'm going to get back to playing. It was nice talking to you. I wish Dave was there so I could throw him under the bus again. But I got to thank him because he got me 2 tickets to FanFest.
There you go. There you go. All right, brother. And it's in October this year. I think that should be a trip we all make. I think it should be a show watch trip, and then get our show to meet up with some other shows, and we'll go down as like a podcast nation.
Yeah, doing it at the parking lot. Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, man. All right. Well, look, get out there. Keep it under 50 on the back 9, will you?
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Later, Frank.
Bye.
All right. So, obviously, one of our own, Frank Finnegan, checking in. I forgot to turn the volume down, so you heard that awkwardly hang up. But listen, it's been a phenomenal show. We have 3 of the OGs here today. Thanking James and Joey for, doing James and Joey type things. It's been an awesome show, and hopefully we'll get Dave, Damon, and Frank back in studio here next week. But for James Scorza and Joe Marks and Dave Yarnell and Damon Salim and Frank Finnegan, I'm Tom Kelly. This is a Pattison Ave Phanatics Show, and we're going to sign off this week. We will see you all next week, folks.
Yeah, I'm on.
Later.
Later.